What if everything you've been told about life is a lie? You weren't born free, and this planet isn't the paradise you think it is. The shocking truth is hidden in plain sight. You were born in a soul farm. Earth is the machine. It sounds outrageous, even offensive, doesn't it? But that's exactly why it works. The greatest prison is the one you never realize you're trapped inside. From the moment you take your first breath, invisible hands begin to shape your path, feeding a system designed not to liberate you, but to harvest you. Think about it. Why does suffering seem endless? Why does history repeat itself, generation after generation, as if humanity is stuck on a loop? The answer is disturbing. Your soul is the commodity, and Earth is the factory. The comfort you cling to, the promises of heaven, the myths of freedom, all of it may be part of the program. And once you start seeing the cracks in the system, you'll never look at life the same way again. Birth looks like the greatest blessing, but in hidden layers, it feels more like a contract signed without consent. The moment the soul enters the body, it's inserted into a carefully designed structure, almost like a soul farm. Families celebrate with joy, but behind the scenes, ancient systems are already shaping identity, destiny, and even belief. It's not a neutral entrance, it's an initiation into a soul trap. And here's the paradox. What seems like freedom is often the very beginning of captivity, a design where the human being becomes more commodity than creator. From the first breath, the newborn is catalogued, given a name, a number, a nationality. These aren't random labels, they're the first chains of the prison planet. The system thrives on order, and order means control. Even before the child can choose, society already dictates what normal looks like. Education, religion, career, retirement, death. It's a conveyor belt, and while we call it life, it works like machinery. Feeding what the ancients described as Earth is the machine, a cycle that consumes energy instead of liberating it. If you think about it, this looks strikingly similar to livestock. Animals are born into farms where their paths are predetermined, fed, raised, and eventually harvested. The human condition is not so different under this hidden lens. The very essence of our emotions, struggles, and labor becomes a form of soul harvesting. Unlike cattle, though, humans are kept distracted with illusions of choice. We imagine ourselves free because we can pick between careers or political parties. But in reality, all roads circle back to the same machine. Have you ever wondered why suffering seems unavoidable? From illnesses to heartbreaks, the common human experience is pain. Ancient teachers hinted that this wasn't accidental. It was by design. The demiurge explained in Gnostic texts represents this architect, not a loving creator, but a manipulator shaping matter as a cage. Birth, then, is not entrance into paradise, but into the demiurge's grid. What people call life lessons might instead be part of a larger mechanism meant to drain awareness and keep souls recycled in an endless loop. To understand the depth of this, think of a video game you never agreed to play. You're born inside, with no memory of choosing, no guidebook, only a character and a script you slowly discover. But unlike a game where you can log out, the soul reincarnation trap ensures that you respawn endlessly. Death doesn't mean freedom, it often means reset. This makes birth less of a fresh start and more of a checkpoint inside a system you never consciously designed. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. This perspective is unsettling, yes, but it also reveals why people feel that nagging sense of something's off. Even those with success, wealth, or status sometimes confess to feeling trapped. They sense the invisible bars. It's because the Gnostic truth whispers underneath daily life. The soul isn't just here to live, it's here to be harvested, and the ones benefiting are not always visible. Some traditions point to archons explained as the wardens of this farm, pulling strings that shape thoughts, beliefs, and collective dreams. And so, birth, once seen as a gift, begins to look like an entrance into a system designed for soul harvesting, not liberation. It's unsettling to admit, but liberating to recognize, because awareness is the first crack in the wall, the first step toward escaping the matrix. And while many still live convinced that life is only a blessing, the whispers of ancient myths suggest otherwise, and these whispers lead us into the next mystery, the voices of civilizations that already knew about the cosmic harvest. Every culture leaves behind myths, but some myths feel less like stories and more like encrypted warnings. When you study the Gnostic texts, or even older Mesopotamian tablets, you notice a recurring theme. Humans weren't created out of love, but out of necessity. We weren't children of gods, but livestock in a soul farm. The Sumerians wrote about beings descending from the heavens, shaping man from clay to serve them. And the Gnostic scriptures describe a soul trap, maintained by architects who thrive not on devotion, but on energy. These whispers weren't bedtime stories. They were testimonies disguised as mythology. Take the myths of Mesopotamia, the Anunnaki creating humans to work, to mine, to serve. Doesn't it sound eerily like a cosmic economy where souls are the currency? This is the essence of soul harvesting. Compare it to the Egyptian Book of the Dead, where the soul's journey after death is judged and recycled. Different cultures, same pattern. Earth is not just a planet. Earth is the machine, designed for production and control. What historians dismissed as primitive superstition may, in fact, have been fragments of a deeper Gnostic truth hidden in plain sight. Even the Greeks hinted at this reality. Plato spoke of the cave, shadows dancing on the wall while prisoners mistook illusions for truth. Was this allegory not a poetic way to say prison planet? And when Orphic cults warned about reincarnation as a cycle of forgetfulness, they were pointing to the soul reincarnation trap. These myths, scattered across cultures, fit together like puzzle pieces, and when aligned, they reveal something chilling. Humanity has always been told it is caught in a system. We just forgot how to listen. Here's a thought experiment. Imagine you inherit an old book from your ancestors. The pages are cryptic, filled with strange drawings and fragmented words. At first glance, it seems nonsensical. But if you look carefully, you begin to see a map. That's what these myths are, not random tales, but survival guides. The demiurge explained in Gnostic lore is the central figure of this puzzle, the false architect wearing the mask of godhood while enslaving creation. Once you see the continuity across civilizations, the picture becomes undeniable. The Mayans spoke of cycles, great endings and beginnings, the turning of cosmic gears. Hindus described samsara, the wheel of birth and death, a relentless cycle of return. Christians warned of principalities and powers, entities unseen, shaping the world from shadows. Whether we call them archons, gods, or rulers of darkness, the theme remains consistent. They are archons explained as wardens of this soul farm, hidden behind the veil of religion and myth. And if the myths are true, they didn't just watch humanity, they fed on it. Now ask yourself, why would so many cultures, separated by oceans and centuries, echo the same idea? It's like hearing the same song played on different instruments. Perhaps they knew something we don't. Perhaps their shamans, priests, and mystics cracked glimpses of the machine. If that's the case, then the Gnostic truth isn't new knowledge at all. It's ancient knowledge we've forgotten, and what we forget, we are condemned to repeat, life after life, harvest after harvest. So these whispers, dismissed as superstition, might actually be the survival notes left for us by our ancestors, warnings about a hidden economy of souls, written in myth to survive censorship and time. The question isn't whether the harvest exists. The question is why we've been taught to laugh at the very idea, and that brings us to the next step. If the myths described it, what is the machinery itself? What does the cage of matter really look like, and how does it keep us spinning in the cycle? The material world feels solid, reliable, comforting, but that solidity is exactly the trick. Imagine waking up inside a giant clock, every gear turning with precision, and realizing you are one of the gears. That's how Gnostics saw matter, not as a playground, but as machinery. The demiurge explained in their texts is not a loving creator, but a mechanic, building a cage disguised as cosmos. Our bodies, our desires, even our aging, they are the levers and pulleys of the system. To be born here is to be plugged into. Earth is the machine, ticking away as if time itself were the master. Think of hunger, for example. You eat, feel satisfied for a moment. Then hunger returns. It's a cycle that never ends, like a treadmill designed for exhaustion. Multiply that by all human needs, love, safety, recognition, and you begin to see the endless loops. These are not flaws, they are features of the cage. Each desire pushes us forward but never truly fulfills us. And this endless chasing creates energy, a perfect design for soul harvesting. It's no wonder that mystics whispered of a soul trap hidden in the very fabric of daily life. The prison planet doesn't have iron bars, it has gravity, biology, and time. Pain is built into the body, desire is programmed into the mind, death is preloaded into the code. From a Gnostic view, none of this is random. Matter itself was constructed as a feedback loop to keep souls tethered, and the soul reincarnation trap ensures that when one body fails, the system simply recycles the awareness into another, wiping memory so the game starts over. The player never knows the rules, yet plays endlessly. Here's a practical analogy. Think of a casino. Bright lights, endless games, carefully calculated odds, all designed to keep you inside. The house always wins. Not because you can't play, but because the game itself is structured against you. Matter functions the same way. The Gnostic truth reveals that the demiurge doesn't need to chase anyone. He just builds the casino and lets souls gamble away eternity. And every round of life, every spin of suffering, pays into the hidden machine. What's insidious is how this design hides in plain sight. Work becomes noble, ambition becomes virtue, consumption becomes progress. We celebrate what actually chains us. People take pride in overwork, in wealth, in legacy, unaware that these are gears of earth is the machine. Even science, for all its brilliance, often describes reality as if it were purely mechanical, yet misses the deeper question: who built the machine and why? The demiurge explained in myths is the answer no one dares to consider. Some mystics tried to hack the system. Through meditation, altered states, fasting, or rituals, they glimpsed beyond the machinery. They reported moments where time bent, where the gears seemed to stop, where they felt a strange weight lifting. These cracks suggest that the machine is not perfect. It has flaws, and every flaw is an opportunity to see the illusion. This is where escaping the matrix begins, not by breaking matter, but by seeing through it. Once you notice the gears, you realize you're not just a gear. So the cage of matter is both prison and teacher. It keeps souls trapped, yes, but also leaves clues for the curious. Hunger, desire, suffering, they are painful, but they also expose the mechanism. If the world were pure bliss, no one would question it, but because the machine hurts, some begin to wake. And that awakening leads to the next revelation. Suffering itself isn't random, it's the very currency of the system. Suffering is often treated as a mistake of nature, a tragic side effect of life. But what if it's not a bug? What if it's the core design? Look closely, and you'll see that human pain fuels more than just personal growth. Wars, poverty, heartbreak, illness, each generates waves of energy, emotions so intense they vibrate through the collective field. This is the hidden economy of the soul farm. Here, suffering isn't wasted, it's collected, recycled, and used to keep the prison planet alive. What seems like chaos may actually be structure. Think about it. Fear drives people to obey. Anxiety pushes them to consume. Grief keeps them clinging to hope in something beyond. In this way, suffering becomes a form of currency. The soul harvesting doesn't just happen at death, it happens every time we cry, despair, or break. Our energy flows outward, invisible yet powerful, feeding the very system that holds us. The demiurge, explained by Gnostic texts, knew this well. His machinery wasn't built for joy, but for extraction, and pain was the most profitable fuel. Take modern society as an example. News cycles feed on fear. Advertisements whisper that you're never enough until you buy more. Corporations thrive on overwork, while politics thrives on division. It's an endless loop of stress and exhaustion, and all of it keeps people from realizing they're trapped in a soul trap. Even when relief comes, a vacation, a purchase, a victory, it's temporary. Like bait, it lures people back into the same loop, proving how efficiently Earth is the machine recycles human energy. On a personal level, think of heartbreak. A broken relationship can leave someone devastated, unable to function, sometimes for years. From a human view, it's tragedy. But from the machine's view, it's production. That emotional turmoil releases massive energy. Multiply that across billions of people, and you have an entire planet radiating pain. This is the Gnostic truth hidden in plain sight. Suffering isn't accidental, it's systemic. The soul reincarnation trap guarantees that when one round of suffering ends, another begins, under a new mask. Mystics throughout history tried to warn about this. They spoke of principalities and powers, unseen rulers who thrive on human misery. The Gnostics named them archons, explained as wardens of pain. These aren't just external entities, they're also internal voices, self-doubt, shame, guilt, keeping people docile. Religion often reinforces the trap, promising reward for obedience and punishment for rebellion. In this way, suffering is not just tolerated by the system, it's orchestrated like music played on the strings of human emotion. And yet, suffering has a paradoxical side. While it binds, it also awakens. Some people, at their lowest point, glimpse beyond the veil. They see the illusion of the game. A financial collapse may teach detachment. Illness may ignite a spiritual awakening. In these cracks, the escaping the matrix begins. The very currency that enslaves can also open doors of awareness, but only if the person dares to question the value of their pain. Otherwise, they remain a worker in the unseen economy of anguish. So suffering is not random, not accidental, and not meaningless. It's the heartbeat of the system, the currency that keeps the prison planet alive. To see it differently is to change your relationship with it. Pain can enslave or liberate, depending on awareness. And as we move forward, the question deepens. Who are the collectors of this currency? Who are the keepers of the farm, watching over the harvest? The answer lies in the next revelation, the mysterious wardens known as the archons. In every prison, there are wardens, and if Earth truly operates as a soul farm, then the wardens are the archons. The Gnostics described them not as myths, but as powerful forces embedded within reality. Imagine invisible administrators of the prison planet, ensuring that the machinery of control never stops. They don't simply guard souls after death. They manipulate thought, culture, and belief during life. In modern terms, they are like hidden programmers of a simulation, adjusting the code to keep humans docile. But here's the disturbing part. The Archons don't always appear as external beings. Sometimes they whisper as your inner critic, the voice that says you're not enough or stay in line. Other times they wear the mask of authority figures, leaders, teachers, even religious icons. The Archons explained in ancient texts were shapeshifters, capable of influencing society at every level. This makes them nearly impossible to detect. After all, how do you fight something that looks like your own reflection? That's the genius of the soul trap. Think of culture itself. From childhood, we're told what success looks like, what beauty means, what beliefs are acceptable. These aren't random, they're templates. The Archons thrive on uniformity because predictable souls are easier to harvest. This is the hidden economy of soul harvesting. The more predictable people become, the less they question the system. Even rebellion is often prescripted, designed to funnel frustration into safe, controlled outlets. It's not freedom, it's still Earth is the machine, dressed in different costumes. History offers striking examples. Totalitarian regimes thrived by rewriting truth and demanding blind loyalty. Propaganda became scripture, and questioning it meant punishment. But if you zoom out, you see the same dynamic across civilizations, a few controlling the many through fear and ideology. The Demiurge explained in Gnostic writings was not alone, he needed administrators. And the Archons filled that role, not just in temples or palaces, but in every mechanism of control. Governments, religions, and even education systems. Here's something practical to notice. Whenever you feel drained after endless scrolling on social media, you're experiencing a modern archonic tool. Algorithms feed you what keeps you addicted, what keeps your emotions triggered. They harvest your attention, your energy, your despair. It's the digital version of soul harvesting. In this sense, Archons don't need to wear robes or wield weapons. They use screens, trends, and ideas, and each click, each outrage strengthens the bars of the invisible prison. Yet, some traditions insisted the Archons are not omnipotent. They depend on ignorance. The Gnostic truth was that awareness weakens them. When you name the voice in your head as archonic influence, you separate yourself from it. When you stop feeding fear and shame, their grip loosens. This is the beginning of escaping the matrix, realizing that not every thought is yours, not every belief is natural, and not every authority is legitimate. Awareness itself becomes resistance. So if the Archons are the wardens, then humanity is the herd, guarded inside the cosmic enclosure. But every warden has rules, every system has loopholes. And as ancient seekers discovered, the patterns of control reveal something deeper, that Earth itself isn't just a farm, it's a machine powered by time, work, and consumption. And that realization leads us straight into the next revelation, the mechanics of the Earth as a machine. Look at the structure of daily life. Wake up, work, eat, sleep, repeat. It seems natural, but in truth it's a program, like code running in the background of a computer. This cycle is the engine of Earth is the machine. Every action, from the commute to the paycheck, becomes another cog turning in an invisible mechanism. Humans think they're choosing freely, but they're really following a blueprint designed to keep the system in motion. This is how the soul farm disguises itself as ordinary life. Consider how time rules everything. We celebrate birthdays, mark deadlines, schedule futures, but who created the clock? Time is a leash. It dictates when to rise, when to labor, when to rest. The Gnostics understood that time itself was part of the prison planet, a framework built by the Demiurge. In this view, time management isn't empowerment. It's enslavement. The demiurge explained built time as a cage, trapping souls in predictable loops, ensuring they never step outside the rhythm of the machine. Work is another gear. From ancient slavery to modern employment, humans have always been taught that labor equals worth. But in truth, labor is energy extraction. We trade hours of life for survival, rarely questioning why the system is designed this way. Whether in fields or offices, the structure is the same. Effort in, reward out, exhaustion guaranteed. This cycle is central to soul harvesting. People believe they're building careers, but in the deeper scheme, they're fueling the soul trap that keeps the engine running. Consumption is the final loop. Work produces money, money produces buying, buying produces more work. It's a treadmill that never ends. Entire industries thrive on planned obsolescence, objects built to break, forcing endless replacement. The economy, in this sense, is less about serving humans and more about keeping them tethered to Earth, is the machine. This cycle mirrors the soul reincarnation trap. Use, exhaust, discard, recycle. And while the body obeys these laws, the soul gets caught in the same script. Take a simple example: fast fashion. Clothes are made to wear out quickly, forcing constant consumption. Millions labor in poor conditions to sustain it, while buyers endlessly chase trends. This isn't just economics, it's metaphysics disguised as shopping. Every purchase is participation in the prison planet's energy grid. The Gnostic truth reminds us, the system doesn't need your happiness, it needs your repetition. And so, the wardrobe becomes a symbol of the loop, always filling, never full. But some begin to notice. Minimalists, monks, and seekers who step out of the cycle sense a different rhythm. They discover that reducing consumption, reclaiming time, and redefining work can weaken the hold of the machine. These small acts don't break the system, but they expose it. It's like pulling back the curtain and realizing the wizard isn't as powerful as he seems. This is the crack that opens toward escaping the matrix, seeing that choice exists even inside programmed loops. And so, Earth reveals its duality, a home for life and a cage for souls. The cycles of time, work, and consumption are not neutral. They are the gears of a machine designed to harvest, but once you see the gears turning, you begin to notice the patterns. And those patterns are everywhere, in religion, in power structures, in the very symbols we ignore daily. Which leads us to the next question. What are the signs of the farm hidden in plain sight? Most people walk through life without noticing the patterns, like fish that don't realize they're swimming in water. But the signs of the soul farm are everywhere, etched into culture, institutions, and even architecture. Pyramids of power rise in governments and corporations, each one built on layers of submission. Religions promise salvation but demand obedience, channeling energy upward toward invisible rulers. These are not accidents. They are markers of Earth is the machine, reminders that life here follows design, not randomness. Think about how societies are structured. At the bottom, billions labor. At the top, a handful control. This pyramid isn't just economics, it's metaphysical. The prison planet runs on hierarchy. The higher you go, the fewer people, but the more control. The masses feed the system with work, faith, and suffering, while the top funnels it into concentrated power. This pattern is one of the clearest indicators of soul harvesting, a design that transcends cultures and eras. The shape is universal because the trap is universal. Religions add another layer. From childhood, people are taught to kneel, to pray, to surrender. Whether to gods, saints, or leaders, the message is the same. Obedience equals virtue. But what if that obedience is energy extraction? The demiurge, explained in Gnostic lore, thrived on worship, not because he needed love, but because worship was fuel. The Gnostic truth suggests that the grand cathedrals and holy wars weren't simply about faith, but about directing spiritual energy into the machinery of the soul trap. Even economies reveal the pattern. The endless cycle of debt and credit mirrors the soul reincarnation trap. Always paying, never free. Think of how many people die still working, still owing, still striving. Entire nations carry generational debts that never vanish. This isn't coincidence, it's structure. And just like souls recycled after death, economies recycle energy endlessly, ensuring the machine never starves. Money becomes the physical reflection of what the Archons explained do with consciousness. Keep it circulating without escape. Architecture itself whispers the truth. Skyscrapers shaped like obelisks, domes mirroring the heavens, cities designed around occult symbols. These are not just artistic choices. They're markers of control grids, subtle reminders of the farm. Even entertainment reflects it. Movies and shows glamorize violence, fear, or despair, feeding collective energy into the system. Everywhere you look, the signs repeat. But because people are trained not to question, they dismiss them as coincidences. The prison planet hides in plain sight. Here's something practical. Next time you're stuck in traffic, look at the rows of cars. Each driver isolated, each trapped in metal boxes, burning fuel, wasting hours. From a higher perspective, it looks like a ritual of energy extraction. Billions of hours lost, billions of emotions drained. This is Earth is the machine at work, turning frustration into fuel. Once you spot it, you can't unsee it. The signs surround us, waiting for those with the courage to notice. And that's the unsettling truth. The patterns aren't hidden, they're ignored. Because if people saw them, they would ask dangerous questions. They would begin to wonder if the promises of heaven are real or if they're just another loop in the design. And that question leads us into the next revelation, the possibility that even the afterlife itself may not be liberation, but another level of the farm, the false promise of heaven. For centuries, people have been comforted by the idea that death brings freedom. Heaven, they're told, is the great escape, the reward after suffering. But what if that promise is itself another layer of the soul trap? The Gnostic truth warns that what most imagine as liberation is just another chamber in the same prison. When the body dies, the soul doesn't always ascend to eternal peace. Instead, it often gets recycled, memory wiped, and thrown back into the system. This is the essence of the soul reincarnation trap. Think of it like a video game that restarts every time you lose. You may get a new character, a new setting, even a new storyline, but it's still the same game. Religions promise paradise, but often condition it on obedience, ensuring that energy flows upward until the last breath. The demiurge, explained in Gnostic cosmology, doesn't offer heaven as a gift. He offers it as bait. And once the soul follows the light without questioning, it is guided straight back into another round of captivity, fueling the prison planet once again. Near-death experiences sometimes offer hints. Many report being drawn to a tunnel of light, greeted by familiar figures, urged to go back or move on. But what if those figures aren't ancestors or angels at all? What if they're masks, archonic projections designed to shepherd souls back into the soul farm? This possibility shakes the very core of human faith, but it also explains why the cycle never ends. What we believe to be love may, in truth, be another method of soul harvesting. Here's a practical analogy. Imagine a company that claims to reward loyal workers with retirement benefits, but instead of retiring them, it quietly transfers them to another branch, resetting their contracts. That's what the afterlife looks like under the Gnostic truth. Souls expect rest, but instead are recycled into new contracts, new bodies, new struggles. Memory is erased, but the system remains intact. And because they can't remember past lives, they never realize they're employees who never get to retire. Even myths hinted at this. Hindus spoke of samsara, the endless wheel of rebirth. Buddhists described liberation as nirvana, not another heaven, but an escape from cycles. Gnostics said the archons explained guard the gates after death, deceiving the soul with visions of paradise. And Christians warned of false shepherds, wolves in sheep's clothing, leading the faithful astray. All of these voices, across cultures, point to one haunting possibility. Heaven, as commonly understood, is not freedom, it's management. But here lies the paradox. Knowing this truth is unsettling, yet empowering. If the light at the end of the tunnel is bait, then awareness becomes the shield. Instead of blindly following, the seeker questions. Instead of surrendering, the awakened soul remembers. This is the beginning of escaping the matrix, not rejecting death, but refusing to be herded like livestock. Awareness breaks the cycle because it denies consent, and consent is the only thing the system needs to reset the loop. So heaven, once seen as the ultimate prize, may actually be another trapdoor in the cage. But if that's true, then what is the alternative? Where does the soul go when it refuses to return? When it resists the recycling program? The answer lies in the cracks of the machine itself, in the awareness of those who dare to see through the illusion. And that takes us to the next mystery. The fractures in the system, the cracks in the machine where awareness leaks through. Every machine, no matter how perfect it seems, eventually shows cracks. The same is true for the prison planet. While most souls move through the loops of birth and death without noticing, a few begin to see glitches in the design. Mystics, seekers, and truth seekers across history reported moments where reality bent. Visions, dreams, synchronicities, and revelations that didn't fit the script. These aren't accidents. They are the openings in Earth is the machine, hints that the soul is more than just fuel for the soul farm. Think of déjà vu, that strange moment when time feels repeated, like you've been here before. Science brushes it off as memory error, but seekers recognize it as a glimpse of the loop. Or think of synchronicities, meaningful coincidences that feel too precise to ignore. These are the cracks where the system fails to cover its tracks. They remind us that the demiurge explained may control matter, but he doesn't control everything. And in those slips, awareness begins to rise. Throughout history, figures like Buddha, Jesus, or the Gnostic sages acted as guides to these cracks. They pointed to higher truths, urging people not to accept the world at face value. The Gnostic truth wasn't about worship, it was about remembering that the soul belongs to something greater, outside the loop of soul reincarnation trap. These guides didn't break the machine for us. They showed us that escape begins with perception. Awareness itself is resistance. On a personal level, cracks often appear during suffering. Illness, loss, or crisis shakes the illusion. A person suddenly questions why they are here, why life seems designed for pain. That questioning is dangerous to the system because it redirects energy inward instead of outward. It halts the soul harvesting process. The archons lose their grip when the soul pauses to ask, what if this isn't real? What if I'm being farmed? That pause is where escaping the matrix begins, but awareness isn't always mystical. It can be practical. Reading forbidden texts, studying myths, or even simply questioning authority are cracks. Every time you resist the default script, chasing money, blind obedience, endless consumption, you weaken the gears of Earth is the machine. Awareness builds momentum, and just like water seeping into stone, over time, even small cracks can shatter massive structures. This is how seekers throughout history found liberation, not through brute force, but through steady awakening. Still, awareness is not without danger. The archons explained, don't like rebels. Those who see the cracks are often mocked, silenced, or eliminated. History is full of truth-tellers turned into martyrs. Yet the machine can never erase all of them. Their whispers echo through time, reaching us as myths, scriptures, or even gut feelings that we're meant for more. Each whisper is another fracture in the system, reminding us that the soul was never meant to be confined to a soul farm. So the cracks show us that escape is possible. But awareness alone is not enough. It must be acted upon. Seeing the cage doesn't free you, you must walk out of it. And this brings us to the final and most forbidden truth, that there is, indeed, an exit beyond the farm, a path to true liberation. The question is, are you ready to step into it? That is the last secret, the way beyond the farm. If Earth is a soul farm, then the most radical idea is that there's a way out. But this exit isn't physical. You can't board a rocket or run to another planet. The escape lies in consciousness. The Gnostics hinted that the prison planet works only because souls consent unconsciously. By obeying illusions, worshipping false gods, and forgetting their true origin, humans keep the gears turning. But when awareness rises, the soul trap weakens. Liberation is not about fighting the cage. It's about remembering you were never meant to be caged at all. Think of lucid dreaming. In a nightmare, you feel powerless until the moment you realize you're dreaming. Suddenly, the monsters shrink, the walls collapse, and you can fly. The same applies to life in the machine. Once the demiurge explained is seen for what he is, an imposter architect, his power dissolves. The Gnostic truth insists the machine depends on ignorance. Knowledge, self-awareness, and inner light are the forbidden keys. That is why mystics across cultures sought gnosis, not faith. This is why silence, meditation, and inner stillness matter. In stillness, the noise of the archons fades, and the soul remembers its own frequency. Even small acts, disconnecting from endless consumption, questioning authority, or turning pain into wisdom, are steps toward escaping the matrix. They don't destroy the farm, but they align you with something beyond it. It's like finding a hidden doorway that was always there but invisible to the distracted eye. The soul reincarnation trap feeds on forgetfulness. The exit demands remembrance. Some traditions describe this as recalling past lives, others as awakening to divine origin. Either way, memory is the antidote, not memory of the mind, but memory of the soul. That deep intuition that whispers, "You don't belong here." When you listen to it, the farm starts to loosen its grip. And slowly, the soul harvesting becomes ineffective because you no longer radiate blind submission. Consider the lives of mystics and sages. Many lived outside the system, rejecting wealth, abandoning power, speaking truths that defied authority. Their lives were often short, but their impact rippled across centuries. They demonstrated that exit was possible, not through violence, but through radical non-participation in the machinery. They became living cracks in earth is the machine, walking reminders that there's more beyond the gears. Their very existence was rebellion, proof that the farm could be left behind. But here's the paradox. The forbidden exit is open to all, yet chosen by few. Why? Because freedom is terrifying. Most prefer the comfort of the cage, the predictability of cycles, the illusion of safety. To step beyond the farm is to abandon the familiar, to reject promises of false heavens and manufactured truths. It's not an easy path. It demands courage, sacrifice, and clarity. Yet for those who dare, the taste of freedom is incomparable. So if the soul farm exists, and if the prison planet is real, then the question is no longer, is there a way out? But will you take it? The exit cannot be handed down by religion, government, or science. It can only be chosen one soul at a time, and while most will remain within the loop, believing the illusions, some will awaken, slip through the cracks, and rediscover the source. And that's where our journey leads, to the introduction of the forbidden truth, that you were born in a soul farm, and Earth itself is the machine. So now you've seen the hidden layers, the soul farm, the prison planet, the soul trap, and how Earth is the machine that feeds on your very essence. But the real question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you go back to the loop, pretending you didn't hear these whispers of Gnostic truth? Or will you start questioning, observing the patterns, and looking for the cracks in the system that lead to escaping the matrix? Ask yourself, how many times have you felt that nagging sense that life is more than work, pain, and consumption? How many times have you felt déjà vu or seen synchronicities, as if reality itself was hinting at the truth? Those moments weren't accidents, they were invitations to wake up, to reclaim your soul from the cycle of soul harvesting, to step outside the farm. But awakening isn't passive. It demands courage. It asks you to remember that you are not just another gear in the machine. You are consciousness, timeless and luminous, and you were never meant to be trapped here forever. The question is, will you dare to break free, or will you stay where it's safe, repeating the same cycle again and again? If this message resonates with you, don't just keep it to yourself. Share it, talk about it, and let it plant seeds in others who are ready to hear. And most importantly, stay connected, because this journey has only begun. Subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell, and make sure you're here for the next revelations. The machine is powerful, but awareness spreads faster than control. And the more of us who wake up, the weaker the farm becomes.